Hello, how are you? I hope that you are all fine today. This is Mrs. Rasad from Science City at New Generation Language School. Today we are going to talk about Lesson 1, the atom and the ion. The number of well-known elements up till now is 118 elements, and the elements can be classified according to their properties and electronic structure into metals, nonmetals, and finally noble gases. And remember that Berzelius was the first scientist who classified elements into metals and nonmetals only. First, we'll start metals. The properties of metals. First one, they are elements which contain less than 4 electrons, 1 or 2 or 3 electrons in the outermost energy level. Number 2, they are solids except mercury Hg, which is only liquid metallic element. Number 3, they have metallic luster. And number 4, they are good conductor of heat and electricity. And finally, they are malleable and ductile. And now we're going to talk about the behavior of atoms of metals during the chemical reaction. During the chemical reaction, atoms of metals tend to give their outermost energy level, outermost electrons to other atoms to complete their outermost energy level with electrons. So, give reason. The atom becomes a positive ion when it loses an electron or more because the number of positive protons become more than the number of negative electrons. So, what is the meaning of positive ion? It's an atom of a metallic element that loses an electron or more during the chemical reaction. And some information about positive ion. Number 1, the number of protons in its nucleus is greater than the number of electrons revolving around it. So, number 2, the number of energy level around its nucleus is less than the number of energy level in the atom. And finally, carries a number of positive charges equal to the number of lost electrons from the neutral atoms. And number 2, nonmetals. The properties of nonmetals. They are elements which contain more than 4 electrons, 5, 6, or 7 electrons in the outermost energy level. Number 2, some of them are solids and other are gases except bromine, Br, which is only liquid nonmetallic element. Number 3, they have no luster. Number 4, they are bad conductor of heat and electricity except graphite or carbon, which is a good conductor of electricity. So we have here only graphite and carbon. They are not malleable and ductile. Brilliant. So give reason, during the chemical reaction, atoms of nonmetals tend to gain electrons for other atoms, to complete their outermost energy level with electrons. And next question, the atom becomes a negative ion when it gains an electron or more because the number of negative electrons becomes more than the number of positive protons. So what is the meaning of negative ion? It's an atom of a metallic element that gain an electron or more during the chemical reaction. So give reason, both of sodium ion and an oxygen ion have the same number of electrons because the sodium ion is formed when a sodium atom loses one electron and charges into Na positive, which contains 10 electrons, while an oxygen ion is formed when an oxygen atom gains 2 electrons and charges into O negative 2, which contain 10 electrons too. Number 3, noble gases. They are elements which don't participate in any chemical reaction in ordinary conditions due to the completeness of their outermost energy level. So what about the properties of noble gases? They don't participate in any chemical reaction in ordinary conditions, and their molecule consists of one single atom, monoatomic, and finally, they don't form positive or negative ion in the ordinary conditions. And now we're going to talk about the chemical bonds. We have two types of chemical bonds. Number 1, ionic bond. Number 2, covalent bond. So first we'll start with ionic bond, formed due to the combination between a positive ion for an atom of a metallic element and a negative ion for an atom of non-metallic element to form a molecule of an ionic compound. So, what is the meaning of ionic bond? It is a chemical bond resulted from the electric attraction between a positive ion and negative ion. Give reason. Ionic bond produces compounds molecule only and doesn't produce elements molecule because ionic bond arises between two different atoms as a result of the electric attraction between a positive ion for an atom of a metallic element and a negative ion for an atom of a non-metallic element. Give reason it's possible to combine sodium and magnesium together to form a compound. Give reason because each of them is a metal and its atom tended to lose the outermost electrons during the chemical reaction. So, what is the meaning of covalent bond? It is a chemical bond originated between the atoms of nonmetals through sharing of each atom with a number of electrons to complete the outermost energy level with electrons. And we have three types of covalent bonds. Number one, single covalent bond as hydrogen molecule. Number two, double covalent bond as oxygen molecule. And finally, triple covalent bond as a nitrogen molecule. And we have here some questions. First, the covalent bond produces element molecule because it arises between two atoms of one nonmetallic element. Number two, the covalent bond produces compound molecule because it arises between two atoms of two different nonmetallic elements. Number three, when an atom of chlorine is combined with an atom of sodium, the product will be an ionic compound. But when two atoms of chlorine are combined together, the product will be covalent molecule. Give reason. Because the chlorine atom gains the electron which is lost by the sodium atom. So, an electric attraction occurs between the positive sodium ion and the negative chlorine ion, while each of the two chlorine atoms shares with one electron to complete the outermost energy level. And thank you so much. See you later. Goodbye.